You hurt me. So I'm not going to be nice to you or me. Ever said that? Ever thought that? I think sometimes we might say the first part, not realizing what happens is the second part. When we blame others for the way that we feel, it can sometimes cause a reaction in us. And I know for myself, if I get in that place, what happens for me is that I shut down. I realized early in my life that love was very costly. I loved my mother more than anyone in my life. And she died of a stroke when I was 8. I loved my dad equally as much. And he died in a boating accident when I was 12. So my reaction to that, and I can remember saying it to myself just like it was a moment ago. And I said, love hurts too much. I'm never going to love again. I'm never going to love. I can't stand the way I feel. I don't like how much I'm hurting. I don't want to feel this way again. And so I shut down. When my uncles told me that he thought that I was numb, that I would often just sit on the couch and do nothing, react to nothing, be nothing. Almost as if I wasn't present. And I think in a lot of ways I wasn't, because I had totally shut down. Often when we're threatened or believe that someone has caused us pain, we close down to protect ourselves. Ever notice? Oftentimes we close our heart, and if we pay attention, we can actually experience what that feels like. You know, all of us, as human beings, have the instinct to survive. For thousands of years, human beings have had to defend their lives in order to survive. Now, in this day and age, we're fortunate in that we don't have to fight for survival. We don't have to fight for food or shelter or water or clothing. We don't usually find ourselves in life-threatening situations where we have to defend ourselves. So what do? We make stuff up. Yeah? We still employ this defense. But instead of defending our bodies, now we defend our beliefs. Or we defend our self-concepts. We defend the person that we think that we are. Or we defend how we believe somebody should treat us. And if they don't treat us right, or they don't look at us right, or they're not nice to us, or they don't smile at us, or they don't give us what we want, we can shut down. Almost I think our ego believes that it's a way of communicating. You know, you're not being very nice to me, so whoa, my curtain is coming down, and there is nothing between us. There is no love between us, because I am shutting down. 2, I think to protect myself. True for you? And eventually, closing down takes a lot of work. When we close down, we reduce the amount of love that we're receptive to. Not only are we not able to give it out, but we can't receive it. Because in this brick wall that we create, nothing goes through. So in a sense, when we withhold our love, we saw off the branch we are sitting on. Yeah? Because we think, I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna get rid of this pain. I don't want to hurt anymore, so I'm gonna saw this pain off, and then we ended up sawing off the very limb that we're sitting on. The very thing that is the biggest gift in the world for us to receive and to give, which is love, we no longer have access to because we shut it off. So today, how can we change this? What can we do to embrace this idea and to move beyond it? And I believe it is through expressing what I'm calling universal kindness. And when I started writing this lesson today, I was thinking initially that I would talk about this whole idea in one day, and I realized that the idea is too broad. The more that came to me was that this is going to be a 3-Sunday series on universal kindness. So, and what we're going to talk about during this 3 weeks, which will be today, and next Sunday, is Beatles Sunday, so it's not going to include that. It'll include the following Sundays, will be about what can we do to open our hearts when it starts to shut down? What can we do when we start to notice? And believe me, after today, you're going to know because you're going to pay attention. You're going to sense it because I know for me, it's like I get this rush of energy that goes whoom and the wall comes up. So the idea is, what can we do? What practical practice can we use when that wall starts to come up? And so we're going to talk about, in this 3-week series, 3 different things. And what we're going to talk about today is appreciation. And then the Sunday after next, we'll talk about compassion. And the Sunday after that, we'll talk about generosity. All 3 of these are aspects of this universal kindness, this way that we can embrace our fullness. Because what happens when we shut down, when you shut down, is you're also cutting off your connection with Spirit. Because as soon as you're not, I'm not able to love, it's like, whoop, Spirit can't get to you. Because Spirit is always there. And the truth of it is we can never stop Spirit from relating to us, for expressing through us, but we can stop our connection with Spirit. Does that make sense? It's like it's always there. The presence is always there, but if we shut down our heart, we can't listen to it. So developing this universal kindness will help us to keep our hearts open and lead us to self-healing and into healing our relationships. Anybody have any self-healing that could be up for you? You can tell probably because if you have any relationships that are difficult, then you probably have some self-healing to do. Dang, I hate that part, I got to take responsibility. Oh. So I'm going to tell you a story. And this story's titled, You'll Never Know. One night, close to midnight, in the 1960s, an older African-American woman was standing on the side of an Alabama highway in a lashing rainstorm. Her car had broken down, and she desperately needed a ride. Soaking wet, she decided to flag down the next car. A young white man stopped to help her, which usually never happened in that time. You can imagine in the 1960s in Alabama. The young man took her to safety. He helped her get assistance and put her in a taxi. She seemed to be in a big hurry, but wrote down his address and thanked him. 7 days went by, and a knock came on his front door. To his surprise, a giant console color TV had been delivered to his home. And that's the way it was in those days. A note attached to it read, "Thank you so much for assisting me on the highway the other night. The rain drenched not only my clothes, but also my spirits. You came along. Because of you, I was able to make it to my dying husband's bedside just before he passed away. Sincerely, Mrs. Nat King Cole." This story demonstrates a couple things to me. First of all, it's the power of compassion and love. The fact that this white man stopped to help an African-American woman in the 1960s shows me how much compassion there is available to us when we tap into it. To be able to move beyond the fear, be able to move beyond the norms, be able to move beyond what is expected, to move into potentially difficult or unfamiliar territory. And this is what we do when we can learn how to love with compassion. The second part of the powerful part of this story is the power of appreciation. The vibration that Nat King Cole's wife demonstrated by reaching out and appreciating this man. I mean, think of the repercussions, even in hearing this story today, how powerful it is. Appreciation is one of the most powerful, energetic fields that we can put ourselves into. When we appreciate others, we change our vibration. When we appreciate others, we change their vibration. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, wrote, "We increase whatever we praise. The whole creation responds to praise and is glad." So when we praise someone, when we are appreciative to someone, we send out a vibration that the whole world experiences. Do you see that? Because we are part of that vibration of love. When we are appreciated, how does it feel to be appreciated? Pretty doggone good, doesn't it? Isn't it? And when we are appreciated, we're a part of that vibration. And when we appreciate somebody else, we are sending that powerful vibration out into the universe. Medical research is showing that gratitude can increase a person's wellness. It can increase their sleep habits, it can increase their metabolism, and it can lessen stress. Psychologists and neuropsychologists believe that expressing appreciation benefits the giver and the receiver by creating good feelings, better self-esteem, optimism, and cooperation. Alex Korb said, "Gratitude can have such a powerful impact on your life because it engages your brain in a virtuous cycle." Don't you love that? Into a virtuous cycle, a righteous, a right thinking, a powerful, loving cycle when we appreciate others, when we are grateful for others. Practicing appreciation benefits us spiritually because to do so allows us to recognize our own value. What does that mean? When we recognize something in someone else, we recognize it because we possess it. So when we recognize and appreciate someone else, we are appreciating the very values that we have innate in us. That's why we see it. It's kind of like, we see what we believe. Or Wayne Dyer used to say, you'll believe it when you see it, And so we see in others what they reflect to us. By the way, whether it's negative or positive. And so when we appreciate somebody for something, we are beholding in them the very characteristics and attributes that we innately have within ourselves. So appreciating others helps us to realize the value that we have, that you have. The positive qualities that we appreciate in others are the same positive qualities that we innately have within ourselves. In 1995, I took an appreciation workshop that changed my life. I was going to a Unity Church in Walnut Creek, California, and I took this phenomenal afternoon workshop, and I can remember it just like it was yesterday. And the topic of that workshop was appreciation. And we went through exercises that gave us the opportunity to focus on appreciating people, events, and ourselves in our lives, in my life. And what that did for me, when I started to appreciate the things that I was experiencing in my life, I began to love myself for the first time. I was able to get past the wall of fear and separation from my true self when I started to appreciate all that I have. When I started to appreciate the people that were in my life. It was like it changed the programming. It changed the structure of the way that I was thinking. It changed my beliefs, and I was able to embrace and embody the power of love. For me, for the first time since I was 12. Appreciating yourself and others will change your life. I like this. Alan Cohen says, appreciation is the highest form of prayer, for it acknowledges the presence of good wherever you shine the light of your thankful thoughts. Paul wrote in his letter to the Thessalonians as he was encouraging them to live more powerful lives. He said, therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. It's kind of interesting because I grew up, it's a long story, and I know you don't want to hear it all today, but as a result of my mom dying, my dad remarrying, my dad dying, my stepmother remarrying, and I got a stepfather who never, ever told me, appreciated me. And I think it kind of grows out of an old thought of, if you want something to be really good, you don't appreciate what it is. Does that make any sense? It seemed to me he kind of thought that you got more done, encouraged people to do something by negatively reinforcing them or criticizing them. That was his mode of operation. And God bless you, Howard. Because I know I've grown a lot as a result of that experience and that relationship. And I think there's a part of our unconscious that thinks we don't want to appreciate others. Yeah, because we find that there's some sort of lack or something that makes us vulnerable when we appreciate others. And like so many truths, that it seems like the opposite of what appears to be true is true. And appreciation is one of the most powerful things that we can do. William Arthur Ward wrote, When we seek to discover the best in others, we bring out the best in ourselves. When we seek to discover the best in others, we bring out the best in ourselves. And that to me means that, when I am with you or anyone and I can behold the Christ for you, when I can hold and behold your highest potential, it brings out the best in you. And it also brings out the best in me. When we seek to discover the best in others, we somehow bring out the best in ourselves. So I've got a little process I'd like for you to go through. I did write this on my Walk Your Talk, and I hope that you'll try this process during the week, but we'll do just a shortened version of it today. So think of, and I ask you to make a list, but think of people that you really appreciate. Who's somebody you really appreciate? You. All right, you got to think about somebody else for this. Who is somebody you appreciate? Joanne. All right, is that what I heard? Okay, Joanne. And what is it you appreciate about Joanne?
She's always a good listener.
Ah, she's always a good listener.
And I feel that no matter what she goes through, there's always this positive energy when you see her talk.
So we appreciate Joanne because she's always got a positive energy. And she's always got a strength, doesn't she, of being able to be present to whatever's happening. Yes, Joanne, we're talking about you. So what I would invite you to do is to pretend like we're not having this discussion and to write Joanne a letter. And I would encourage you to write a letter to somebody that you appreciate. This is the practical part of this truth. In order to make these things happen and for these things to work, we have to apply them to our lives. So I hope that you will use the things that we're talking about in your life. So choose a few people, write them a letter that includes, I truly appreciate you for. And you could also make it a point this week to go to somebody and say to them, you know what, I really appreciate you for, and then tell them why you appreciate them. And then you can also think about some people who are not currently in your life. Maybe the friendship has moved on, or maybe the person has passed away. But think of somebody who impacted your life. And how did they do that? And imagine that you can write them a letter, and you can. You don't have to mail it. But you can actually, I think there's great power in writing a letter to somebody, whether they're alive or not, and whether you send it or not. It is the act of doing so that has the power. So write a letter to someone who has been, but is not currently in your life. And the next thing you can do is to do the same thing for yourself. And write a letter to yourself. And say, you know me, I really appreciate your strength, your love, your power, your ability to be present, your enthusiasm. And by the way, I've got all of this written in my notes that you can get after the talk today. This is really powerful to acknowledge ourselves. I was brought up in a household where I wasn't allowed to acknowledge myself. And so to this day, it's hard for me It's always been hard for me to rattle my own cage. What's a better word for it? Toot my own horn. Yeah, I rattle my own cage a lot. So write a letter to yourself, appreciating the things that you bring and that you are. And then in prayer and meditation, I'm going to contemplate this statement. And let's go into meditation with this statement, and I'll say it a number of times. But I invite you to close your eyes. And take a deep breath. Breathing into this moment. Remembering the truth of who you are. Remembering that it is safe and it is powerful to explore your spiritual truth. Breathing in and breathing out. When I appreciate others, my life is transformed. What I appreciate in others belongs to me as well. When I appreciate others, my life is transformed. What I appreciate in others belongs to me as well. And if you like, I invite you to open your eyes if you want, and to say this with me. When I appreciate others, my life is transformed. What I appreciate in others belongs to me as well. Let's say it again. When I appreciate others, my life is transformed. What I appreciate in others belongs to me as well. Breathing in and breathing out. I'll say it one more time and invite you just to listen, and then we'll spend some time in the silence. When I appreciate others, my life is transformed. What I appreciate in others belongs to me as well. And gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Allowing the gentleness of the breath to slowly bring your awareness back to this moment. Breathing in and breathing out. Thank you, loving Spirit, for this truth. As we now go forward to appreciate our friends, our relatives, this lifetime, and ourselves. And we are happy, prosperous, joy-filled, and peaceful. And so it is. And I thought it would be fun to end it like this. By saying this together, I am kind and loving to myself and others with joy and enthusiasm, yes? I am kind and loving to myself and others. Ta-da!
Where I live, they're all raised